여러분 안녕하세요. 오랜만이죠? 린디입니다. 네, 오늘 영상 주제는 제가 어떻게 한국어 어휘 단어를 배우고 있는지에 대해서 설명하고 싶고요. 네, 요즘엔 그 토픽 한국어 능력시험 준비하고 있는데요. 네, 시간이 뭐 몇 개월, 3개월 정도? 4개월 남았는데 좀 공부 계획을 짰는데 그거에 대해서 조금 설명해보도록 할게요. 근데 지금 집중하고 있는 게 어휘만이에요, 단어. 한마디로 동시에 많이 공부해야 되는데 한 가지만 집중하면 안 되고, 근데 저는 당연히 한국 드라마도 많이 보고 듣기 연습도 하고 친구랑 이렇게 전화로 대화하다가 배워갔는데, 근데 이 영상은 다만 어휘, 그 단어 공부하는 법뿐인데요. 네, 여기는 저번에 한국어 공부 영상 만들었을 때 이거 나왔거든요, 이거. 근데 이제 보니까 조금 안 좋은 법일 수도 있는데 그 예문도 없고 그냥 단어랑 설명만 있으니까 이제 좀 다르게 해보도록 할게요. 네, 엄청 귀엽게 꾸몄는데 안에 한국어만 있네요. 여기 봅시다. So I'm actually going to continue the rest of the video in English because it is easier to make this accessible to a wider audience, and it really takes a super long time to make subtitles. So if you're able to contribute to subtitles, there is a link in the description. Thank you so much for those of you who always help with subtitling. But for now, let's continue in English. The very first thing I did while making my schedule was to count how many weeks are left until the TOPIK exam. So I'm planning on taking it in April, which means from right about now there are 16 weeks left. Help. Alright, I have written all of the weeks here until the exam. So I've put the exam at the top and then I've counted back to where we are right now, or where I was when I made the schedule. And I've given myself 10 weeks to complete a TOPIK test prep textbook. And within those 10 weeks, 2 of those weeks are spent just learning the vocabulary from that book, and then I will do the activities. And then I've given myself time to do past exams and past papers. In addition to that, I have created a weekly plan where I write the days of the week and all of my activities for that week. Right now, when I study vocabulary, there are only a few tools I use. Number one is Quizlet, which a lot of you have asked about on Instagram, which is a flashcard app which I love to use for learning vocab. And I also use a small pocketbook that came with my textbook that lists all the vocab words. And I'll tell you right now how I split those words up. And the other tool I use is just my notebook and a few pens. So I'm keeping it super simple for now. I don't want to stress by using too many resources at this moment. This is the cute little pocketbook, the handbook that comes with my textbook. And right in the beginning, they have lists of vocabulary words that appear in the textbook. And at the end are the grammar structures. So it's more of a reference guide to go along with the textbook. But since it's so small and I can carry it with me wherever I go, I've decided let's study the words from here first and then we'll attempt to use the textbook. So I take the bus to work and I realized I can actually go through 2 pages of vocabulary on the way to work, and then back from work I do another 2 pages. So I study 4 pages of vocab a day. Over here, I've written the day of the week, so 화민 화요일, and it was the 17th. And with a yellow marker, I mark the words that are unfamiliar to me. So I don't just focus on the main words, but if there's anything in the example sentences, then I'll highlight that as well. What I do on the bus is I just have this with me and a yellow pen, and all I do is I read. Obviously, there's the English meaning there, so I'll try and get a bit of that meaning into my head. But at this point, I don't try to memorize anything. That's very tedious. I'm on the way to work. I just want to make a list of what I know and what I don't know. Once I've completed that, I go home and then I take these words and I input them into the Quizlet app and I create flashcards. Immediately after that, I start playing all the games on Quizlet. So matching, a test, the learn mode, there's a whole bunch of functions that you can explore. After I've gotten at least 90% accuracy or retention, so that means after you take a test or do a matching thing on Quizlet, it tells you how much percentage of the words you got correct. Once I reached about 90%, then I take these words and I write them in my notebook. The reason I do Quizlet first is because I don't want to waste time just writing words mindlessly. I really want to try actively get them into my memory. So once I feel very comfortable with a word, I'll just write the words down that are still difficult to me. Now for Quizlet, because there will inevitably be so many words for me to learn, I've decided to kind of split my studying into 2-day sections. So Monday and Tuesday go together, Wednesday and Thursday go together, and Friday and Saturday go together. So I create decks for 2 days, flashcard decks for 2 days only. And I try and study them throughout the day, like when I'm in the bathroom or when I'm just walking or when I'm standing in the queue. That is when I will be doing these flashcards. Welcome to the Quizlet app. At the top, I have all of my flashcards here. I don't usually use this function. Something unique that I enjoy about Quizlet is the fact that they have audio.
논리,
logic, reasoning,
인공적,
man-made, artificial.
Now, the reason I enjoy this is not because it's teaching me how to pronounce the word, but because every time I hear a word, I remember it better. So just by repeating this over and over, I'll remember the lady's voice and the man's voice, and for some reason, that helps solidify the word in my memory. Okay, learn, this is just the normal flashcard mode. You have to say what the meaning of the word is. My favorite game to play is the matching game. So you have a bunch of flashcards and you have to match the meaning to the definition. Let's take a test. So you can, something I like about Quizlet is it also tells you what your last score was of a test. So you can do this progressively and see if you are improving or not improving. And that helps you remember which decks you should be focusing on. So this is a bit hard for me to do because I'm looking through my camera screen. Whoopsie-daisy. Piuda. Oh my gosh, see, I cannot see through my camera screen. Let me just try that again. Piuda. To be furnished. Ooh. What is this one? Forgot that one. Ah, I made a mistake. Okay, that's too bad. Unfortunately, you cannot go back. This will quit the whole test, so that sucks. %. So I think I made a few mistakes. Ah, yes, that's what this word is. Yes, I know this was my mistake, so that's kind of just a typo. Everything else was right. Okay, so I technically got 1 wrong, but because I did one by accident, I got 2 wrong, and now I've gone down to 90%. Oh dear. Yep, that is basically how I use Quizlet. Let's go through how I set up this notebook. First of all, I write the Korean vocabulary word in pink. I write the definition in English in blue, and the example sentences in black. There's no theory or structure behind why I do this. It's just something I like doing. I like seeing different colors. Many people ask me exactly how are you supposed to set up a notebook? What's the best pen to use? These are all very subjective points. You can do whatever feels right for you. This is just what I enjoy. Here is day 1. Day 1 has a little less words than the other days because I spent a lot of time going through Quizlet first. So the amount of foreign or unknown words to me was less because I'd already learned them to some extent. Whereas you can see day 3 actually has maybe 2 pages, and day 4 has 3 pages. So I didn't spend enough time on Quizlet before I wrote the words in here. As you see, I never translate my example sentences to English. It wastes my time, and I also am at a level decent enough to not need to translate example sentences, but rather just focus on specific words that I don't know. I make little cues for myself as well. So 화제, you'll see I didn't put the English here because it's easy for me to break it up. So 화제 means the topic of what you're talking about, right? So 주제 means topic, and 대화 is a conversation. So 화제 takes the 화 from 대화, conversation, and the 제 from 주제, topic. So 화제 is the point of what you're talking about. I've also realized it's a lot easier for me to remember words in short phrases. If I just try and memorize that 여기다 means to regard something, I'm never going to remember it. So I put an example phrase like 소중히 여긴다, which means to regard something very preciously, or to think highly of something. As you can see over here, I try not to put the definition in blue for all of the words. I try and infer the word from context if I have an example sentence. Sometimes there will be words in example sentences that are not part of this handbook, and then I will look those up separately and write the meaning in Korean in pink. Now, how I get the definition of these words is by using my favorite dictionary app called Naver Dictionary. They come with a lot of example sentences as well as Chinese characters, 한자. And that helps me remember words a lot more easily because it's kind of like puzzle pieces that build up words. So if you know that like 학 means anything to do with study, like 학교 is school, 학생 is student, 학과, 학기 is like a term in school. So all of those words come with the character 학, which is the Chinese character for to study or learn. So once you know what the 한자 character is, it really helps you infer the meaning of other words easily. And with my little bit of background in Japanese and Chinese, it helps me remember words a lot faster. So that's why I love using Naver Dictionary. I split up these pages by days, so I write the day of the week and the date here, and I also say what day it is. So generally it ends up being about 2 pages per day, and I try and review these example sentences when I can, but because I am busy, I have a full-time job, I pretty much just use Quizlet most of the time. I've also realized that it will take me 2 weeks to complete all of the vocabulary in here, so I'm halfway through week 2 right now. And then I'm going to give myself 1 week to kind of rest my brain, but also go through everything I learned. I don't want to put too much information into my head yet. So 2 weeks of studying and then 1 week of reviewing everything. So on the 4th week, I will start using the textbook. Also in my schedule, I have marked out space that I can review the words from the previous day as well. So I'm not just constantly putting in new information, but I'm taking a little time to review previous words as well. That's it for how I study vocabulary in preparation for the TOPIK exam. If you're wondering, I'm aiming for about level 4. Realistically, I might get 3 at the level I'm at right now, and it would be amazing if I could get level 5, but let's see. I don't want to put my sights too high and be disappointed. And I'm only taking this exam to really have motivation to study and learn more. Otherwise, I'm just gonna stay at the same level in Korean for years. So yeah, I'm pretty much just using it as study motivation rather than trying to prove a point. Alright, before I finish, first of all, thank you so much for watching, but I'd like to remind you that I also have an FAQ. I have a website where I write a lot of articles about language learning, and I have a Tumblr blog where I answer all of your questions. So if you want to interact with me more, or if you want to ask something, head over to my websites and lots of information will be there. And see you guys in the next video. Bye bye!